Mark Griffith here, welcome to RCHacker. Now I've got a few new toys in front of me that I've been buying from one of the Chinese online super bang good, super does everything for you store. And I got this little tarot frame, I think it's fairly new tarot frame. It's called a tarot, this is the 280, there's a 250 or 280. Version of this frame, and it's one of those ones. I'll show you a picture of the front of this box, but it's one of those ones with the little canopy and stuff that goes over the top. And I got this because I was interested in the design of it, and apparently the battery goes in the middle where you'd normally put your electronics, like so, and then all the electronics and stuff go around the top, and there's a few other bits and pieces. So we'll see how that goes in terms of protection and stuff when I build it. But you know, that's a 2,200 milliamp hour battery, probably a bit big for it, but that fits in there really nice, and it keeps the center of gravity nice and low and in the middle. And one thing, this part was assembled out of the box, like all these parts were already assembled. And then if we look at this part though, at the front here, these pillars are bent. Look at that. That's probably why they're pre-assembled, I imagine. Like, they're bent, and this part has got a big sag in it. So I don't know, have they put this together wrong, or was it just a bad design and they've got the holes, the distance for these holes wrong? Maybe they should be a bit further over. Now I'm sure once this is all assembled it shouldn't make too much of a difference, but that's a pretty piss poor effort having those bent like that. And it's seems to be the way with a lot of these cheaper frames, that they just don't fit, and I guess they make a whole batch and they say bugger it, we'll sell them anyway, we don't care. So now I put the multimeter on it, and it says it's semi-carbon, and I get semi-continuity through the thing, so not bad, I guess. Like, these are the arms. They're all packaged, of course. Excuse all the noise. I've got the 4 arms. I think they're 3mm carbon, these arms. And they're quite a complex shape, so it's going to look pretty funky. I don't expect this to be a real performance model. I wanted something that would look good. And they're cheap. It's only $40. And I think that's one of the side ones, so that's going to fit over there like that. And then there's a few other bits and pieces for camera mounts and stuff like that. So I'll be putting that together and I'll tell you how that goes. Now this is a Emacs Motor. It's I'll make sure I get it right, MT1806 2280 kV. Now there are a few people in RC groups that have done tests and stuff on these. I'm going to be trying to run a 50/40 prop on them because they fit on there perfectly, and I've got a bunch of them, but I'm not 100% sure on what the best prop on these is just yet. But I've got 4 of these. They're packaged really nice. They came in these boxes. Really nice box, and inside that box there's a plastic box like this with the bits in, and you got a little baggie of screws to go with it. Good. I don't know if there are any spares in those screws or not. And there was also a little tool as well. You even got a little Allen key tool to fit all the screws and stuff. So that's good. And I got 4 versions. There's a different rotation heads on them, so counterclockwise and clockwise rotation, and they're really, really tiny. Now, one of the motors was bad out of the box, and I'd spin it. It was actually this motor, and I'd spin it and it would spin around and go grind and stop. So what I had to do, I had to pull it apart. The circlip's still off this, haven't put it back on yet, and there was a big piece of gunk in here. It looked like a dead bug or something, and I cleaned it all up, put it back together. Nope, this was still grinding. And then I found that one of the magnets had excess glue on it, and I actually had to scrape that glue off with a screwdriver off the surface of the magnet, and you could only see that if you looked really closely at the surface of the magnet. It was actually rubbing on that magnet every time it went around. And I'll zoom in. So I'll zoom in on it. You can see where I've scraped it all the way off the surface of those magnets, and one of them had so much glue on it that it was just rubbing. Not bad, but just goes to show they don't do quality control on these things at all. And now it works quite fine. I like the integrated top on them. I like this. As I said, there's counterclockwise and clockwise ones, so I probably won't need a lock nut. Really like this type of design. That makes it really small and light. And I also got a bunch of other cheap motors. Let me just quickly open it. These BE1806 2300 kV. They came in a box like this. Not a fantastic box. Not protected or anything like that, no padding around it. So I kind of like the Emacs ones better. You get this great plastic box that you can use for other things afterwards. Now this is the raw motor here, and it's got these really nice long silicon wires, so that's a plus. But you look at the difference here. The what do you call it? The band where the magnets go around is the same size, but look at the size of the base on this. It's huge. It's monstrous. Actually adds a bit of weight. And then this one you need to bolt on the adapter for it. And there is a thread on RC groups. Someone's done all the power tests and stuff like that. But one of these motors had a bad... Which one was it? Let me find it. Yeah, that's the one. So I was putting this together, and I'll put the front on here like this and line it up, and look at that, it was all out of line. I'm like, why is, that's a bit dodgy. Why is that? Why doesn't it line up? And then, can you see what's wrong there? Look at that. If I just rotate that around, yeah, I thought that was really, really curious. It's like, look at that. It's obviously defective, but it's only this little mount part that's defective. But you can see the machining on there. It's kind of a bit skew-if, and it's like this came from the end of the blank or something like that. Now, these things took a couple of months to get here already, so maybe I'll just have to delegate these 4 motors to a tricopter or something like that. Or find a friend with a lathe and actually flatten this out. So I should be able to put this end in the lathe. But that was really cool. I took a couple of photos, sent it to the guy, the guy I bought them off. Maybe he'll send me another one, but I'm not going to hold my breath. But there you go. That's the risks you get going straight from the getting these things, the cheapest possible ones you can find. No doubt the motors will do all right, but that's just disappointing. I was hoping to get 4 of these, and no, I've only got 3 that I can use. So, but I did like the long leads on these ones. The long leads on these, the leads on these EMAX ones are the standard. They're just the same windings, and then they're twisted off and melted a bit at the end. So, probably want to glue those in there, but they're really small and light motors. They're pretty cool. Anyway, they're the new bits I've got. Nothing else really here worth showing at the moment. But I'm going to put this together, and then I'll let you know how it all fits. The aim is to put a NAS 32 full in it. Apparently on the box and all that sort of stuff, it says it's set up for Copter Control 3D, and there's a kit version that comes with a Copter Control 3D, and it is a bit of a puzzle. In fact, it's a real puzzle because there's no instructions and there's lots and lots of parts. So it should be fun building this thing. And anyway, I might just put this on a time lapse, and you can watch me as I build this frame. Anyway, cheers. Catch you soon. Okay, so she's all together to the best of my ability, given there's no manual and that sort of thing. And all right, I'll show you where the battery goes again. Battery fits in there like so, and then this thing can lift up. The battery strap is a bit, how you doing? It's not that great, but once it's in, this is probably this is the biggest battery you're ever going to put in this thing. But that fits nice and snug in there, and I really like how it plugs in. Like, just plugs in the back there like that. That fixed spot on the bottom, I really like that. I think that's really good. Now, one of these motors is still a bit, which one was it? It's this one. It's still a bit no good. This motor's still no good, so I've got to open that up and give it a polish and try and fix that. Oops. Now the canopy on this, it's like I'm struggling to see what the point is, except for looks. Now there's quite a lot of carbon in it, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 little spars in there. So, and all those metal screws that go with it. Yeah, it's good for protection, but is this really necessary, all this stuff? Like, yeah, it looks cool, but wouldn't you be better off with just a piece of foam that it drops over the top, and then that could, you know, have the crap beaten out of it, and it would not be a problem if it broke. Like, I know in a prang, this is going to break. Like, look at this, these weak points here. That's all it's held on with. Is those tiny little, where it all goes down to a fine point, and those tiny screws there. And there's no way to properly tighten these screws without gluing them in either. As you open it and close it, these screws on the end, they're a bit difficult to see. These screws are just going to come loose all the time. So I don't know about that. Yeah, if you're not, it's definitely not going to be a very robust model. And then putting this bit, the latches on the back, it kind of works. You've got to pry it apart, but not very easily. You've got to get in there, and then it clips on, sort of, and you push it down a bit further. Yeah, okay, that's not too bad, but then you can push it side to side like that. A little impact, that's just going to go punk and push to the side, and whatever's mounted in here is going to get sheared off. So it's not really providing that much protection at all. Like, all right, impact, it's going to be like that. It's going to twist. Anything mounted on the back here is not going to do well at all unless you mount it underneath here on the top. But then you've got to run your wires all the way down. Getting it open, there we go. So once it's open, so if you went that route, the way I see it, we've got two options. Mount all my flight controller and stuff in here underneath and run our wiring all the way down the front here. Or I mount it on the top here, which I think was the intention. There's no real point for a decent flight controller to mount these. Like, there's holes here. Yeah, I could screw them on there, but standard M3 screws aren't going to fit in there without screwing them out a bit. M2s, yeah. So I can put the flight controller on there like that. That works. And then with it closed, it's got a bit of protection there. And then there's room for the transmitter and video transmitter and all that sort of thing. One bit where it's got potential is the camera mount can pivot, which is kind of cool, but again, they're on screws, and those screws are currently loose, and there's no way to adjust those screws without taking this front nose panel off, and these plastic screws are a pain in the ass to get on. I don't know, do I leave that loose and put a servo on it? That'd be kind of nice, because you could put a servo on that and have your pivoting camera mount up in here somewhere, mount a servo, and leave those screws loose and just rely on this plastic here to hold them in. That's an option. I don't know, I haven't decided yet, but it's certainly, they've complicated the thing a whole lot. And all this structure isn't really light either. If I take it off, it's a fair amount of the, I don't really want to take it off because these screws were an absolute pain. There's washers in there, but they are a bit of a pain to get in as well. But once you tighten them up, if you tighten them up, great. And then the canopy doesn't move easily, but as soon as you open it up, one side will tighten up, the other side will loosen, and then you go back and then the other side will loosen and the other one might tighten up. So the more you do it back and forth, the looser it's going to get, the more it's going to fall off. Yeah, battery strap, it works, but it's a bit pokey. It's just a strip of double-sided Velcro stuff there. And then we've got all these exposed pins and stuff on the bottom, like these two terminals. Well, it depends where you're going to fly, but on wet grass and stuff, maybe that'll be a problem. I don't know, they're a bit exposed. I'll probably put something over that. Now, not all completely bad. These bits that came with it, these are actually quite good. They fit under there. They'll stick on there. I haven't decided what to do with the wires for the motors yet. They're just hanging loose there. But I like these little things. They're a nice touch. I actually ended up doing that with my other multi-rotor with the foam from the model box, and then you just tape them on there. Bit of foam there. So that's good use of foam there at least. These, apparently you're supposed to put your ESC in there. It's all well and good, but now it's all assembled. So I've got to poke these wires back up in there and then put the ESC in there, and it's kind of tricky and kind of, yeah, a bit optimistic, I think. I could probably do it with a bit of effort, but I still think you're going to have a bit of excess wires. So if I put those wires up through there, I can mount my ESC in there and then run shorter leads, I guess out the side here onto these ones here. I could run them, let's use a proper pointer, so I guess I could run the ESC power down onto those, directly onto those two there, and then solder it from the other side. That wouldn't be too bad an option. That'll be fairly neat. The other side, yeah, there's a hole there, so the wires go in there, ESC goes there, wires go out, and then down there. But with this frame, I got the 280, which is I think it's just the length of these arms. I've put a 7 by prop on these. This is a 7-inch prop. Just fits on that side. It's a 7-inch 3 blade, probably way too big for this motor, but just fits. It's like literally, there's millimeters in that, but that's good. So with a 280 frame, you can put 7-inch props on that. Now I actually might put bigger motors and use these props because the color matches, doesn't it? Looks a lot better. I reckon that'll look quite good, that. I don't know about the performance of three-bladed props, but it might be worth a try. And then this hole here, I guess it's a hole for the antenna. So if you have your video transmitter, then your little rubber ducky antenna can fit up through there. But if you're using anything else, you're not going to have much luck with that. It's not going to be much use at all. Well, what do I reckon? I don't know about this top bit. Yeah, it looks cool, but I don't think it's going to be really, really heavy. Like, it'd be better if they just had one piece of molded foam that was like this. Forget about this pivot joint on the front and just sit it on top. Bang, like that. Give us some extra mounts to put a flight controller on here, because there's nothing really for a flight controller to go on to. Yeah, they want you to use a copter control 3D, but you know, that one didn't really take off, did it? And there's plenty of room here to put a decent little camera mount here that can pivot, and the option to put a servo in there. Like, camera mount with a servo would be kind of cool. And I think that's what I'm going to modify this to do. I'm going to get a piece of old foam and cut it up and make it fit on the top, and just ditch this front part here, because that just looks like a big waste of mass, really. And then I'll have a few spare pillars and bits and pieces like that. Another thing, these bits here where the ESCs go, they do actually provide a bit of extra strength. So rather than having just this same thickness going all up here, it gives it a bit of extra strength. And if you're building any sort of beam, generally they need to be stronger at the base than they are at the tips. So that's good. The trouble is there's not quite enough room to mount an ESC on top. I wouldn't either, because in a crash I've already had ESCs destroyed by the props a few times, getting chopped up. So I'm going to try and squeeze some little ESCs in there. I don't know how much luck I'll have. I've got to have a think about it. The other solution is to just put them here in the usual position under the propeller blades, where they get plenty of cooling, which is always a good thing. So on this one, I'm running those ESCs there, little 12 amp ones, and these motors, and on 4-cell they draw about 20 amps flat out, and those ESCs do fine because they're right under the props there and they get plenty of cooling there. So I might just go with that traditional setup, because yeah, there's a bit of room, but I'd like if there was a bit more room under there to fit. Maybe if these little sections extended a bit longer, it would make it easier to fit an ESC under there. I don't know. Yeah, so that mount, that's cool. I like that. It's very strong. It's not going to break. Well, if you had a crash and that hit something, it'd probably shatter. Then you'd have to wire your own wires down here or something. But that's not bad. I don't mind that little plug on the bottom there at all. So there you go. That's a Taro frame. I've got a motor to fix before I get this flying, and I will no doubt show it to you flying eventually. Those colours don't match at all. I think I might put bigger motors and put these on. Why not? It's you know, give it a go with this Canopy. Put these on, and big 30 amp ESCs. I've got some 2000 kV motors, so a set of them. I'm going to put those on instead. They're a bit beefier than your standard multi-rotor design. Oh yeah, one last thing. There's not much protection for the motor here. Front and back, some little bumpers would be nice. So the first thing that's going to hit in a big impact is the bell of that motor. And underneath, the screws that came with these motors anyway, these holes, you can only fit 2 in, and definitely need washers. I need washers because I tightened one of these up and it just pulled straight through. So these little bolts that I got with the motors, they were a bit too small. Oh, on that, the bolts that I got with the motors, it came with 4 different sets, 4 different sets of 3 different sizes. So it had a whole lot of extra screws, which is really good in the motor kit. That was in these Emacs motors. So except for the dud one that I got so far, I'm fairly happy with them. Anyway, now I really am finished. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and I'll eventually be flying this thing, but I'm not going to go over the top. I think you've got a pretty good idea of what it's like. I probably won't be buying another one. There are definitely other frames out there that are a lot better than this, and this idea, yeah, it looks good, but it serves for no purpose at all but to weigh the thing down. If you want protection for your stuff on your top, just give us a bit of EPO foam that fits and then just drops right on top. So you put it all together, strap your battery on, piece of EPO foam on the top, done, and give us a couple with each frame. Yeah, it bulks them out just a little bit, but that'd be great. That'll make these things almost bulletproof, and you can make them nice and streamlined as well. You could have 2, one going on the base as well, and it just fits together like that. I'd like to see that in these multi-rotors. Alright, so I've just about got this all built, and I went to put the canopy on. I had my Naze 32 glued on the front here, in the middle here, and then my receiver on the back there. That's a little DTF UHF 4 channel. But when I went to put the canopy on, I found that the Naze 32 is too wide for the canopy. So it would go like this and pivot down, and the aim was that it would go snugly over the board like that. But it turns out that, look at this, the Naze 32 board doesn't actually fit in those gaps there. It's too wide for the board itself, which in my opinion, that's a big fail. Unless there's one spot where those are raised a bit, but you know, I didn't really want to put it there. I wanted to have it up towards the front so there'd be room for my receiver and all that sort of thing. So something to be aware of. I'm going to have another go at it and just try and get it in the middle there where this should fit. But really, you'd think they'd make this just wide enough so you could fit a flight controller in it properly. Like, this is the standard size for a flight controller, and it just doesn't fit in there. You could undo them and tighten them up, but anyway, just something to be aware of. If I have this exactly the right spot, maybe that'll work. I'll give that a try. Okay, she now works. It all fits. I've sort of plumbed it all in there, and I'll show you when we open it up. So I've got the flight control board about there in the middle. I've put Bluetooth on this one, so I'm hoping to be able to configure it all via Bluetooth, because there's no real easy way to plug the USB in without cutting a hole in the side of it. And my open LRS on the back. Now this is very fragile, not a racing quad. First crash, that's going to bend there. I've left that glued on, not so much on purpose, but that's going to get broken. Your flight controller is going to get smashed, and you know, this canopy is probably just going to go squash and sandwich all those circuitry boards together. There's nothing really holding that from being squashed right down. And with all that added mass on it, I've got Fun Fighter motors on here, and they're probably going to be a bit of overkill, but I've been testing these out on 6 cell, so I'm hoping this will be a little screamer. Anyway, so that's it, complete. I wouldn't recommend getting one. There are many other better options. This whole canopy thing is an absolute waste of time. I do like having the battery in the middle here, but it will limit me to a certain size of battery. I can't, for instance, use this 4-cell battery. It just won't fit. I'm limited to basically 3S 2200 milliamp hour battery. They fit in there quite snugly. So I've really overpowered this. I might fly it a couple of times like this and then move all the electronics underneath and put the battery on the top like everyone else, depending on how my performance is and whether this is a complete waste of time or not. Anyway, cheers. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.